What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Her Lounge podcast. As promised, I know I kept saying I'm going to have different guests. It's not going to be Marissa every time, but even though we love Marissa. But finally, I have one of my girls that I have been wanting to have on because as we focus on the, National Women's Month, I wanted to bring some knowledge to you guys and just kind of introduce to you some women out there who are doing amazing things, not only for themselves, but to actually help and uplift and help other businesses out there. And so Ilse Gonzalez is the CEO of Connect Media Firm. In addition to, she does a lot of other stuff. So I'm going to let her do that explanation because it's a list. But before we get started, you guys know I like to start with the positive quote. And I thought this was perfect because Ilse always talks about consistency. And I know this goes to social media, but I think it relates to life in general. So to get the results you want, you don't have to be extreme, just consistent. Am I right or am I wrong, Ilse?
Love that. Yes. Thank you so much, Marisol, for having me. It's
For sure.
so crazy how everything comes full circle because the last time we were talking just like this was the first time you had interviewed me for your podcast whenever you were doing the Entrepreneur Series. And then ever since then, the rest is history with us.
I know. I don't know if I've said this before on here, but I remember when Dulce referred her to me as someone to interview Rob. As she was talking, I think I said it this not too long ago. I said, oh my God, can this interview hurry up and finish? Because I want to call her and get my consultation now. I was just okay, I'm done with my questions. Great. So when can I set up my interview with you? When can I set up my consultation with you? Because I need it now. And I just sent her a screenshot not too long ago of me trying to do what she currently does for me. And I just remember thinking to myself, I just had told her, I wish I could just find someone that did this job. It's so hard. I don't want to do this anymore, And then it was what? There's a person out there that exists that's already doing this? Why didn't I know? So anyway, Ilse, tell us a little bit about everything that you do, because you do a lot for me and you also help my husband as well. So I'll tell them after you explain what you do for us, so that if anybody's looking for this service, I'd love for them to be able to to reach out to you. In addition to, guys, this is just even if you're in this type of industry where you're trying to grow your social media because you're trying to push your business. You're just trying to be maybe just to be an influencer, you're trying to get paid by brands because you like this brand or you like that brand. Ilse has so much knowledge, and it's I always learn something new from her every time we talk, every time we meet. So I'll let you take over, Ilse.
Thank you. Yes. So my name is Ilse Gonzalez, and as Marisol said, I'm a jack of all trades where I like to do a lot, and that's what makes it fun for me. So my background, to kind of just give a little bit of context as to why I do a little bit of everything, is because my original plan was to be a reporter. So my thing was, I'm going to be a journalist. That's what I'm going to do. I love to be on camera and this and this and that. And I love to talk. And so to me, it was I'm going to be a journalist. That's a way for me to be on camera and that I don't have to act, because I was an actress before, but I felt like it was so superficial. And so I was I'm going to be a reporter. So I did pursue that while I was in college. I worked at a local TV news station at Telemundo, and while I was there, it was amazing. I had so much fun. It kind of fulfilled that craving that I wanted of the media production side of things,
Sure.
The behind the scenes of how you put a whole production together. So that satisfied that craving. But after being there for 4 years, to me, I was I'm a very, how would you say, I'm not satisfied easily. So to me, I'm always constantly looking for what else, what else, what else. It is, I just I find it very hard to believe that I can't just stick to one thing the rest of my life. That's just going to be impossible. I constantly need something else. And so for me at the time, social media was just a platform that I was using to connect with people, and I love to create content. And someone randomly asked me, hey, you do it so well, creating content and writing meaningful captions. Have you ever thought about doing that for someone else? And at the time I was no, I don't know what you're talking about. It's yes, exactly what you're doing. The taking the pictures, the writing the captions, the publishing that, but for someone else. So that way they don't have to worry about it. And I was I never thought of that. And that's how kind of the idea became of wait, if I charge a person X amount a month and I have X amount of clients a month, that's a salary of doing this.
Yeah.
Like you can
Yeah.
make a job out of running someone's social media pages.
Sure.
So I kind of just did the math while I was still working at the station. And, come it at that time, it was January and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for something new. I don't think I want to be a reporter anymore. I saw what it really took and I don't think it's really my thing.
Sure.
I also don't like people telling me what to do.
Yeah, I can relate.
I don't like people telling me what to do, and I'm a very creative person. And to me, it just was a no-brainer to just try it out, to be self-employed and offer services that not only are skills and talents that I have, but things that I'm passionate about. And obviously using my background as in media production, I was able to kind of use my background and also my current passions to create basically a business out of it and offer services that I felt were valuable to not only creators but also business owners, which includes the social media, so running people's social media accounts, creating content, photography, videography, graphics. And then on top of that, with the pandemic going on, to me, it just so happened that I didn't realize that I actually loved teaching and showing people what I do. And that's how the classes came about too. And as of recently, that's actually been one of the most popular things where, I'll have businesses hire me. It's like, hey, can you come in and teach our employees how to use Instagram or how to use Facebook? So it's a whole lot, but to basically put it under one umbrella, it's marketing and anything that you could really think of marketing. And if I don't do it, I will find a way to do it or I will find someone to do it. So,
and also,
that's my mentality.
That's definitely true because I just I asked Ilse the other day, I said, listen, so you send me, I have a really hard time, guys. And maybe a lot of you who are more closer to my age, 39, you realize that TikTok and the reels are kind of hard. They're just not my thing. So let me just kind of explain to you guys what Ilse does for me so that you guys have an idea. So she gives me topics every month of what I can post about, things that are happening, like whether it's a national holiday of some sort, right? And so she'll give me a list, but she'll also give me a list of reels and TikToks that are popular that I should try to do. But here's the thing, guys. It's not just do it. It's incorporate your brand in these TikToks. So in addition to that, she tries to tell you how to incorporate your brand in there. They're just so hard for me to do because I just don't know why I can't do them. I just can't. I can't get myself to do TikToks or reels. The workout ones that I've been doing are easier because they're just a workout and I'm not really having to like act to do something or mock some kind of like words of a song. So the workout ones are a little bit easier for me because I'm just working out and I just use a song. So that's it. But I said, hey, Ilse, I've been really thinking, I really want to start focusing on my YouTube channel. Would you be down by any chance to split my topics, and instead of giving me so many like reels and TikToks, you give me YouTube ideas for me? So this is the first month that we tried. She was up for it. She didn't say no. She didn't say, let me think about it. I don't really know. She was like, yeah, I can see what I can do. Let's try it out. I'm down. So it was dope because this is the first month. So I'm excited because it's going to be something different. Also, what we do is she also takes my pictures. So whatever ideas she brings me, then I'll go get the outfits together. I'll kind of like tell her, okay, I envision this, I envision that. She'll tell me, yes, no, it'll work or it won't work or whatever. And so that's kind of how we do. And that's why my pictures look so much better nowadays on my social medias, because I actually have someone that's not myself or my husband taking it on portrait mode to try to make my Instagram look good. But anyhow, so if a business tries to reach out to you, Ilse, what is like some of the things that you've, I guess, encouraged first? Like, maybe we can use mine, for example. Do you just go into a person's social media account, like a business, and then review it and think like, okay, they need work here, they need work there, they should be doing this or they should be doing that? Is that kind of how it works?
So, thankfully I've gotten to the point where a lot of what I do is word of mouth. So usually when someone comes to me, they kind of already have an idea of what they want to do. Mm-hmm. However, they're those types of people that it's like, I know I have to do this, but I'm scared, or I don't know if it's right for me. So usually they come with something already in mind. But my first question is, what do you want to take off of your workload? Mm-hmm. Because that has always been one of my missions or my passions since I started. Yes, of course, like it's a business, but for me, I did not quit my 9 to 5 to hate what I'm doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, on top of what I do, the services, like I wanted to help people. I wanted to, be able to come into someone's life and like, what can I do to make your life easier? And in my case, I just serve that purpose of making your life a little bit easier in the marketing aspect. So that's the first question that I asked was like, what's one thing marketing related that you would like to take off of your plate? In your case, it was like, well, I don't want to have to be thinking all the time about topics to, post about, let alone actually take those pictures. I'd rather just let someone else do it. And in that case, I'm like, perfect. This is the service for you.
Got it.
And that's a more approachable way of also easing people into this investment, because I do understand not everyone has the investment or the budget to do so. But whenever you start switching your mindset of to like, I'm paying this person X amount of dollars a month to, no, wait, I'm investing this much into my business. I'm also saving X amount of hours. And while I'm saving those hours, I'm making even more money during those hours. So but again, not everyone is in that mindset. And a lot of the times it's people that just start their business that they just think of like, oh my God, it's going to be X amount a month. They don't, when you start like that because you don't know any better. But when you start, and this is something my dad always taught me because I come from entrepreneurs and my parents have always been entrepreneurs. And my dad would always tell me, if you can pay someone, to do something, let's say you pay someone $10 an hour to do something, what can you be doing in that hour to make twice as much as that or more? And that's called, an investment. And you're just being smart. You're working not harder, you're working smarter about things.
For sure.
It may hurt to give them $10, but maybe you can make $100 during that hour. So it's just trying to also educate also business owners, which unfortunately I feel like also a lot of local and small business owners don't have that mentality yet. And when you switch that mentality, I think you're able to be more productive in the work that you're doing. And not only that, but you also get to focus on what you generally, one, are good at, and two, what actually makes you happy. Because I'll have people that are like, I love, for example, selling my jewelry, but I don't like posting about it. And that takes away the joy of what you're doing as well. So to me, I generally like to have those conversations with people and my clients to change their mindset as to what you're truly investing and what are you really actually investing in besides just the service, if that makes sense.
Sure. And I'm going to use this as an example so that maybe this could kind of help out. So I was just telling Ilse last night, Rob, that I've noticed that my views in my stories have really decreased. And I've also noticed that my engagement has also decreased, but I'm not doing anything different, if that makes sense. I'm still posting like I usually do. Been a little bit busy, so I haven't been posting my 2 a day, but usually I am consistent. I try to get, go on the stories and so forth. So my question for you, Ilse, is you had a response from me yesterday when we talked about it, right? So I guess, how do you stay up to date with everything? Because social media changes every day. I mean, I'm talking about platforms all across, whether it be TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, everything. What do you have to do to constantly keep up with everything? Because it's constantly changing. Algorithms, honestly, too.
One of the biggest sources of knowledge and education, believe it or not, is actually surrounding yourself with people that do the similar things as you. Because, well, the first thing is, and it was a point that you made, is like, I'm not really doing anything different, but that's actually one of the biggest obstacles, is that it's what I also try to tell people is like, look, you actually have to try to do something different to get a different result. Like you can't just stay consistent all the time, because you can't stay consistent and expect change when things are changing around you. And so to me, it's honestly just surrounding myself with people that either do something similar as what I do. And honestly, just also watching and paying attention and analyzing things, because I have the time to do it, but someone like you're not going to have the time to sit there and analyze, how did people react to this picture?
Right.
Like, let me look through the comments. Let me look at my insights. Let me see which post has gotten me the most comments or the most engagement. So to me, I just watch patterns. And I also, as oddly as it seems, I'm a very common sense person, but I just always think to myself, like, before I post something, I'm like, how can I post something that is about me, but isn't about me, if that makes sense. Because a lot of the times we'll use social media, obviously, because it's our personal social media. So I'll share a picture about myself, right? But I'll give you the example of my latest post that I did. It was for International Women's Day. I could have just posted my picture and be like, Happy International Women's Day, period. However, I thought in my head, okay, how can I do a post about International Women's Day and I'm sharing a picture by myself, but I'm not going to make it about me. I'm going to acknowledge the women around me.
Sure.
That brought in a whole different audience because now you're putting out content that's not so selfish, but you're constantly thinking about how can I put something out that's either going to spark a conversation or is going to somehow add value to whoever is out there on the other side of the screen. And I think whenever people start thinking that way with the content that you're creating, so for example, what I had told you, like, hey, and like the ideas that I had sent you, instead of just posting your workouts, how about we switch the tactic of what you are posting into, okay, how can I make this more approachable for a pregnant woman at home? Because if she just looks like, if I'm pregnant and I see your stories, I'd be intimidated. I'd be like, okay, well, I can't do that. But now it becomes you as Marisol, what can I do to seem approachable to that other pregnant woman across the screen and add value into her life? So it's different just posting the video than, for example, you getting on cameras like, hey, girl, I know if you're pregnant and you're watching this, this is a sign that, yes, you should get up and get moving. And I'm going to show you today 3 ways that you can get moving today without even lifting, for example, like a dumbbell, something like that. And that just changes the tone whenever you start speaking on the same level as the people that are following you. And you'll see that a lot of the times that's how people find success through social media, despite the changes that are going on the page.
Sure.
If you stay authentic in that basically like tactic of I'm not posting for me, I'm posting to add value into someone's life, that's how you grow, because people share that content because they'll tell their friend about it or they'll post it on their stories. So it's all a mindset, and it's also very, tiring because you're constantly thinking, should I post this or not? And how should I post it?
It's like, and I have someone that helps me. I mean, Ilse is my content person, and I still have a hard time of like, okay, how am I going to post this? I have the picture. Yes, I have it. But how am I going to post it? How can it be beneficial to someone who's on there? Because it's like you said, I mean, I can post a picture of myself, of my family, of my kids, of anything all day long. My thing is always, I like to kind of like give tips or kind of, inform or whatever, or just kind of tell you guys what's going on lately in my life. And so I always have to like think about it. Like I'll sit there, I use Pinterest a lot, and I'll sit there and be like, what's the best way to approach this, because I mean, I love looking at other people's stuff. Don't get me wrong, but it's like we talked this about how I went in and deleted so many people because it was like, I'm not gaining anything from these people I follow. Like I'm somebody who loves to like learn and like constantly see different things or admire different business women who are doing things. And wow, you know what I'm saying? When I see things like that, that's how, or I'll see something, I'll tell you to see how good of a job she's doing. Like I need to get like this, to where it's like I'm pushing the same type of thing, What's the most common mistakes you see businesses do, even after? You can use me as an example so that you don't put anybody else on blast. But what's the common okay, so once you've given me the consultation, right? Once we started working together, what's still the one common mistake you'll see businesses do even after you've kind of advised them, you tell them what to do every month, So what are some mistakes you still continue to see even after you're there and working with them?
I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people do is that they'll continue to compare themselves to other creators or other businesses.
Guilty.
So, so that is the biggest mistake that you can do, because one, you are wasting a lot of time looking at that other person, when if you really think about it, those 30 minutes that you spent on their page, looking at their pages, those 30 minutes could have been spent on you creating a reel or a TikTok. And that's what I always tell my clients. And I don't know what they do at home, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure you spent some time looking at your competitor, or you spent some time looking at that one page. And not only does that take away your time, and what could you have been doing with that time, but two, you start doubting yourself and what you're already doing. Like you're getting distracted on the progress that you are already doing on your content. You know, and one of the things that I remind myself on the daily, and I tell my clients too, it's like, hey, you and I were not the first or the last to do what we're doing. Mm-hmm. There are dozens or thousands of people doing the same, if not something very, very similar to what we're doing. Okay, and what? Like, okay, we know that. So what are you going to do to stand out or to make it different? And if you keep looking at them, you're going to somehow subconsciously want to do something similar as theirs. And that's not your business. That's not your purpose. Mm-hmm. Like, stop looking at what they're doing and trying to imitate it and think about or grab it. But how can I twist it to either one, make it better, or two, make it my own? Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes people get so caught up on looking at their competitor and they try to copy it or whatever. It's happened to me personally. And you know what? I wish them well, because the people that are copying other people on social media, they die out. They don't stay long. They don't stay long, and I've seen it. So to me, when it's personally happened to me that someone tries to copy something that I'm doing, and my friends be like, "Did you see what this girl posted? She literally took the same picture at the same place as you." Da, da, da. And I'm like, I wish her well. Yeah. I wish her well. I'm flattered. And that's just how you just have to switch your mentality of stop getting so consumed on looking at what other people are doing that's distracting you on your own unique platform that you've created and that you could build, but you're so busy trying to rebuild what someone already did. Yeah. And that's not authentic, and people are not going to gravitate towards you because it's not new. Someone's already done it. So I think that's probably been the biggest obstacle for a lot of my clients.
Yeah, because I think I reached out to you when I had a situation, because I always feel like, well, damn, I'm paying for a graphic designer to do my graphics on my t-shirts. You know what I'm saying? I don't just pay $20 to get that done. You know what I'm saying? That'd be nice if that was how much a graphic designer charged. You know, I come up with an idea. I send it over to him. He sends it back. You know, David and I have worked very long together. And so we work hard together, and then I turn around and then tell Ilse, listen, this is my collection that's coming out. This is kind of the vision that I have. Where can we take these pictures? And then when someone reaches out and and then tries to kind of copy what you're doing, that's why I said yesterday, it's not flattering to me. It's frustrating to me. That's the word for me, because I'm like, if you only knew how much money I have to invest, you know what I'm saying, into my business to keep it going, so that I can keep people coming back and buying from my merch, you know what I'm saying, so that they still continue to find interest in everything that I'm doing. And then you want me to be okay with you copying that and then asking me if you can copy. You asking for permission to copy. I was like, who do I talk to? I don't know anybody that would understand this. I'm texting Ilse right now. I need some business advice about this on the best way to approach, because for one, I appreciate that the person asked if they could copy. I give them that, right? I mean, let's give them credit for that, right? But I was just kind of like, damn, you didn't even play it off a little bit though. Not even change the color. Nothing, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like kind of upset about it.
It was a photo shoot?
No, it was a design that I had. Oh, okay. And then, you know, the photo shoot concept was kind of the same. And I was like, no, like Ilse has to sit there and send me like places that I can take pictures at. Like she's like, hey, I saw this new place. You might, you know, maybe the next photo shoot can be here. Or, you know, it's like, I just found a little market out there that we could go take pictures. This is time consuming. This is time that she's taken. This is time that I've taken to invest into my business. So you see what I'm saying? So to me, I completely agree with what you're saying, Ilse, because I catch myself not so much comparing, but thinking like, damn, how much more money are they investing? Because they're like really, it's like way a bigger production. And I already feel like what I do is a production. I mean, I got to get outfits. You know, you got to scout places we can go take pictures, or you'll say like, what do you have in mind this month? You know, and then it's like, let's go. It's like spending time out there to take pictures. We're out there for a while. You know, usually our shoots take like 4 hours roughly, right? He'd say, like, I don't think we've ever had a shoot in just 1 hour. It's like not possible. So it's like, you know, so it's like really hard. And that's when people say, what advice do you have? It's like the best advice that I can give someone is, if you're really serious about your business, we are in a social media world, and I'm somebody who hates social media. Like, I am so old school still in my ways, to where it's like I've accepted that this is how we advertise now. There is no such thing as, hey, unless you're like, I don't know, unless you're like Macy's, I mean, like where you're already in these stores and you're making it already. I mean, it's a lot of money you invest, and it's like, the biggest, I guess, advice that I can give somebody about a business is like, really invest and work with people that can help you be better and grow your business. Understand things that you don't understand, like, because I don't understand algorithms the way you do. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand Reels, TikToks, any of that stuff the way you do. Now, I knew I had a concept in my head. Like, I knew that posting was important. I knew that I constantly check my insights. You know what I'm saying? This picture did well. Okay, so I need to post most pictures, people like this more than that, So I kind of I noticed that. One thing that Ilse tells me a lot that I failed to do, I thought you were going to mention this, Ilse, is videos, like me talking.
That too.
Yeah, I do. So I just I don't know why. I'm not a shy person.
We podcast.
Yeah, we
every
podcast
week.
every week. It's like, wow, another thing. No, I'm like, I don't want to add another thing. It's just like blogging too, Ilse. You have no idea. So I used to blog. That's how I used to keep up with my women that were in Zumba, because a lot of them then do social media. So, because this is when social media was just starting. Okay. So this was like Facebook was popular, but Instagram still was just not that popular yet. And when I would tell people, okay, guys, don't forget, I posted this on Facebook. They're like, I don't have Facebook. Okay. So that's how I started blogging. And so I started blogging. I would give recipes. I'd make videos of like how I made this protein bar, etc. And I loved it because I almost felt like it was like my Dear Sally type thing, and I really enjoyed it. So I kept telling Rob, I'm like, hey, Rob, so I really want to start blogging again, because he takes care of my website part. You see, guys, there's somebody that does everything in your business. He takes care of the website part. So after bugging him, he's like, okay, this is how you do it, right? Ask me if I've done it. And he set it up for me already. So it's like,
You got so many plates spinning, though. It's hard for you to...
Yeah, it is.
Keep it all going.
Yeah, and that's why people like Ilse to me are like, just I can't. I have, you know what I'm saying? There's just like no amount of like, yeah, I'm not paying her. It's like having Rob too. You know what I'm saying? My podcast producer. It's like, I'm sorry, I could easily done it. I was doing it obviously during the pandemic. Were they as great as this? Obviously not. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sitting in front of my own laptop. I don't have to connect it to a soundboard, etc. It's not being uploaded. I had to upload it. It's a lot of work, guys. Trust me. So, having somebody that helps you with those things is so important, and I love what you do, Ilse. I also love that you teach these classes, guys. Also, she teaches classes on different platforms, her own platform. And then you also do like video stuff for other people too. Like I saw you doing, Dulce's video stuff. And I was like, okay, what doesn't this girl do? I was like, damn. I was like, okay, she does video, taking note to self.
No, to me, it's one of those things. And recently when I had someone else ask me about, what necessarily would make you different, because yes, there's a ton of people that take photos. There's a ton of people that do video. There's a ton of people that do, what I do. The social media management aspect is a little slim right now because it's a very time consuming job and not a lot of people want to do it, which is fine. It's an advantage on my end. However, to me, it's that I have the advantage that I came from a background of storytelling. So that is my unique touch to what I do, that no one else is going to have it just like me. Mm-hmm. Because you can have someone that went, for example, to the university and they specifically wanted to focus on marketing and that's what they did. Mm-hmm. But I have the advantage that I have that human touch. So for me, ever since I was working at the station, it's so crazy how everything comes full circle, because my role at the station was finding stories for the reporters to do. And I coordinated the interviews with the people. So let's say, for example, like it was, and I'll just like, as an example, like it was World Down Syndrome Day. I would be like, the same thing I do for you. I would look at what are some topics that we can talk about. My job was to find, okay, is there an organization in Houston that does this? Contact them, set up an interview. You have an interview with this person, and that's your story for the day. That concept, I just grabbed what I was doing there, the storytelling aspect, and just moved it onto now a platform of social media and doing a condensed version of storytelling. And if you really pay attention, every post that you do is a story that you're telling. You're just saying it in a very, very short caption. But when you start seeing things that way, I think that's what really captivates people, because you're not just putting a quote with your picture. You're actually trying to say, or you're either like, one of the things that I had mentioned to you whenever we had our consultation, and what I live by is I always ask myself, if it's not going to empower, if it's not going to entertain or educate, I'm not going to post it. There's no point in me doing it. I'm not just going to post a picture and a quote just because. That's not what I want to use my platform for. And that just works for me, because, and it's worked for people. The moment people switch their mindset of, let me offer something, what can I offer to that person that's following me? And you start posting more of that, that really takes you to a whole other level, because that same audience, you're going to start attracting those people as well to follow you. And now they know what to expect of you as well. So obviously, if you post, working out, videos of you pregnant, there's going to be other pregnant women that are going to be inspired for it. So they're going to start following you, and now they expect you to do that. And that's when also another obstacle that a lot of people face of, should I keep posting? Like, I want to switch what I want to post about. Like, for example, whenever you're no longer pregnant, well, you're not going to post pregnant workout videos. And then there's going to be the people who are like, wait, but I expected that from you. That's what you gave me. Yeah. And you switch it on them, and then you lose followers, or, you don't have that engagement. But because, again, you're switching what your followers are expecting from you in a way. People follow you because they're expecting something from you. Whenever you don't deliver, that's where either you see that decrease in engagement, or people unfollow you, XYZ. But then you switch it up and you build a whole new audience. And that's okay too. So...
And that's the world of social media, you would say, no?
It is. Yeah. It's just, it's a revolving door. It's a revolving door when it comes to social media, but you have to be okay with it too. I think in the mental health aspect of social media is that I've had clients who are like, oh my God, but I'm losing all these followers as soon as I switch the type of content that I want to post. And I'm like, girl, you need to chill. It's
Mariswole.
Just
that's me with my insights, Ilse. You have no idea. I constantly look at it because for me, it's like I'm not an influencer where like I have brands that are paying me to be on there. So to me, my engagement to me mentally, I feel more it's like a connection with people. So I start to think, where am I losing my connection with people? And I know it's an obsessive thing to be, but I start to feel like, where am I losing the connection? So then I obsess about where I'm losing the connection. Like one thing that I lacked so much of was my Tip Tuesday when I used to be on it. And granted, it was only in my story. But what I hated about it, and this is because I'm such a chatterbox, is that my answers had to be super short and my responses have to be super short. And then it was like, then my husband suggested like, well, why don't you turn Tip Tuesday into a YouTube thing, a YouTube series where you have them every Tuesday and people know to submit your questions on Monday night, right? Yep. So that on Tuesday you can have that video up and going and it's already on there for people to see. And I thought, okay, well, that's genius. And then I was like, okay, but then how do I ask people to send their questions in on Monday? I was like, just keep it like you had it, Mariswole. Just keep it on your social media stories and just leave it at that. Don't add another thing onto your plate. You know what I'm saying? But it made more sense the way he's saying to do it, because it would actually probably be where I could do small segments and post that on social media versus just on my story. And if people are like me, I also don't add too much to the stories, because I just feel like people are doing this. Like just click, moving on to the next story. They're not really taking the time to read it, maybe, unless it was your question that was answered. Does that make sense? So Yeah, I'm guilty of that, Ilse. I'm not gonna lie. I obsess over my insights, and I'll be like, damn. I'll even ask Rob, "Hey, Rob, so what do my insights look like on my podcast?" And then he'll be like, he told me that we kind of dropped during the freeze, and I was like, "Fuck, I didn't entertain them during the freeze." I was like, "Why didn't I think about entertaining them during the freeze?"
You didn't have water or heat, Marisol.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, no, I was like, I didn't think about it. I should have like done some kind of live thing. I don't know. And I'm like all thinking about what I could have, should have done, So it's like, it's tough out there. People don't really understand. Like, when I do Tip Tuesday, that's what I was telling you. People will ask me business advice. And I usually send those comments kind of on a personal more. And I've referred a lot of people to you. And when I tell them, I'm like, this is a paid service. And it's funny because you mentioned that people automatically like, ooh, pay, you have to pay somebody. I'm like, yeah. So it's like, it's a legit job. It's a service. Like, you know what I'm saying? One thing that amazes me about you, Ilse, also, is that you have so many clients, right? And you have to find, like everybody's niche. Like you have to know what is theirs. For example, guys, she also helps my husband with TikTok, and she finds the trending things because again, he'd rather be doing something else than doing the research himself, right? Because that's time consuming. So Ilse helps with finding the most trending things, and she sends this. See, it's different than mine. She sends mine once a month. He sends his on a weekly basis. So we're talking about Ilse's having to sit at home and find the trends, and they're there in his email every Monday for him to do. That trips me out because I'm just like, every time I see that email come, I'm like, when does she find the time to do me, him, all these other people, these classes? She's petting her cat. She's going to visit her boyfriend in Colorado. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I feel overwhelmed with just what I have going. You know what I'm saying? Then I see her and it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that this would have been a job for me. Because remember I was telling you, Rob, at one point, because I would look at me, listen to me. I would sit there and look at our comedians that roll with us, right? Because I'd sit there and take these little classes, like the ones that you told me about with Jenny. So I would sit there and pay to attend these little courses to teach myself social media things, right? So then I felt like I knew what I was doing, and I'd tell the comments like, yeah, so you are not posting enough. No one knows. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like quick to like analyze them. And it was funny because you think because you take one or two classes, it's like, you know what's up. But it's funny because I can tell now when someone's lacking, like, this morning, this is really bad. I watch church in the mornings, right? Like that's how I get my little 10-minute of Jesus in the morning. And so I was like, Ilse really needs to reach out to my church. I was like,
what?
Because there's not enough content for such a big church. Does that make sense?
Are you saying Jesus doesn't have enough content up right now?
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to invite people to your church, right? I don't know. That is bad, right? That I'm thinking about advertising for my church. I was like, I was like, it really needs to. I was sitting there watching instead of paying attention to what he was talking about, right? I was thinking about like, gosh, there's not very many like short sermons on here that people could, like me. I know I could read the Bible, guys. I know that. But to me, it's easier if somebody's kind of like telling it to me, right? So I like go on there in the morning to see what new thing they have, and I've already pretty much watched them all, and so I'm like, gosh, Ilse should reach out to them. And then I go to their Instagram, and then I'm like, gosh, she really needs to reach out to them. I was like, this
always
is
looking out, Marisol.
I know, right? I'm like, God, they really need to work on their church. And then I told Peter, I was like, when we go to church, I'm gonna like put that on the reference. I'm like, you should really read. He's like, do not go on there and tell them some advice they need to be doing at church. But right, isn't that funny now how you pay attention to these things, which are things that you never really paid attention to before, you know what I'm saying? And I hate to say this, but I mean, a church is like a business, so it's like, if you want.
But I think it's genuinely a gift, honestly. Like the paying attention to little things like that, it's a gift that you have because I'm the type of person, for example, like, well, obviously because my boyfriend's also into production, we can't sit there and watch a show or a movie without like, that lighting, the white balance was off from that scene to that scene, or I wonder how they lit that, or that's interesting, like why did they do that? And so, and I'm like that too, and I actually recently I pay attention to everything. I'm a detail person. So like I went to go get my eyes checked, and I'm like, man, what is the job where you get to go into a business and look at their establishment and tell them everything that they could fix because this thing is janky. Like, and I want to go in there and tell them like, hey guys, just grab some Clorox wipes and clean it, and it's gonna look 10 times better. Hey, grab like just like a wallpaper backsplash that's fake backsplash, that's marble, and it's gonna look 10 times better, and it's gonna make it look more sanitary in here or something. Like, I'm just like that, and that's what I do also with people's social media pages. Like, I'll just look at them like, no, change this, add that, like, and it's just the skill that you have, and in your case, you're using that skill with your brand, and I'm just able to do it like on social media and on that aspect. But I think in our eyes, it's so tough because you always have to find that healthy balance. I mean, it's my job, so it's fine, but you always have to find that healthy balance of, should I give them this advice without them asking for it, or they're going to take it as like I'm a know-it-all kind of thing. So I always reserve myself where it's like, I will not give my opinion on something unless someone asks me for it. Even if like they do something for me and I'm just like, I stay quiet. I pick and choose my battles. And so to me, it's like, unless, and then people be like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, you can book a consultation with me so you can pay me and I feel better about what I'm about to tell you.
Exactly. Yeah. I get what you're saying. With all that I've said that you guys, what Ilse does in a day, Ilse, tell us what a typical day for you looks like when you wake up in the morning.
The first thing that I do in the morning is coffee. It has to be coffee. I will not go a day without having 2 cups of coffee. So definitely has to be coffee. I tried the whole thing of trying to wake up and not look at your phone for 15 minutes. Like I can't do that. I just, when your life or your livelihood in a way depends on your phone, it's so hard to not look at your phone. So actually the first thing I do is look at my phone and what's going on.
Do you look at the news on there or no?
I actually, the only way that I really keep up with news is if I follow them on Instagram or if I'll get the push notifications.
Yes, same.
But ironically, ever since I left news, I don't really keep up. I'm like so out of touch with what the heck is going on in our world.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I didn't even know you have to be 21 now to smoke a cigarette.
What? I didn't know either.
Stop, really?
When did that happen? Is that a new
I literally
law?
went to the gas station last week, and for whatever reason, my card wasn't working, so I had to go to the cashier, and I'm standing there looking at the sign, and it said 21 and over to buy cigarettes, e-cigarettes, and all that stuff, and I was like, I'm so out of touch with this world. Jesus Christ.
I don't want to get political, but you know what I'm thinking, Mariswole.
Wow. I never even knew that.
That goes to show that I'm like so out of touch with the world.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Well, there you go. There's your tip.
So it makes
tip
2 of us.
Tuesday, tip of the day.
Makes 2 of us. But okay, so you have your coffee, grab your phone, which is normal.
Just kind of like check what things are going on. And then my first things always is just checking like what, for the people that I post for, that, you know, that we have published content, that's my priority in the morning, making sure that that's set up. So that way it's like ready to go and pushed out in the morning. That's usually, but at around 12, I'm already kind of done with the making sure that everything has been pushed out. Lunch, and then that's whenever I go into my to-do list, which every day is something different. Like yesterday I had a meeting with Ilse, so I was there from 10 to 11 in a meeting. And after that, like depending on, because for me, you know, different projects or services take different times. So but I'm constantly working on 500 things at once. My attention span is also little to none. So for example, whenever I was writing your topics yesterday for the month, I'm not just writing I'm writing your topics, but then I'm working on an email signature design. I can't do one thing only. I have to do 2 things at a time. And in a way, I feel like while I work on different services, I grab inspo from them, if that makes sense, because it's a different client that I'm working with. But yeah, every day it's really different because it depends. Sometimes I have a shoot. Sometimes I have a meeting. Sometimes to me, I look forward to the days where I can just sit down and get work done, because even being out for a shoot for 4 hours, that's 4 hours that I don't get to work on another thing. So I come home. I actually had a call in the morning with a client. She was like, you responded to my email last night, like at 7. And I was in shock. I couldn't believe that I was like, well, I was out. I had a meeting and I felt guilty that I wasn't in front of my email all day. So I'll get home and I'll get on my email.
Yeah. What time does your nights end, Ilse? Usually.
Oh, man. It depends what I have to do.
I asked because one time...
I'm not going to lie. I'll sit there in front of my computer up until 10 sometimes. Yeah. If I take, like, again, it comes with the flexibility of also being your own boss, that if I want to right now, I can go get a pedicure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then that means that time that I was over there, whenever I get back home, I need to make that time up. Like, you have to discipline yourself to get that stuff done. Obviously, whenever you work in a corporate world, you just sit down and you have those 8 hours to get that job done and that's it. But whenever you have the flexibility to do things, you kind of have to rearrange your day and you have to be on top of it yourself because no one's going to remind you to do it. So I'll have days where I'm like, especially on Fridays, I'm like, hell no, it's Friday. It's 6. I'm done. That's it. I need a drink. Like, I'm not going to look at my computer anymore.
Yeah.
But some days I'll be there until 10 if I slacked off during the day and I did X, Y, Z.
And then you're like, okay, I got to make up for this. And then what time do your mornings start? Do they start really early or are you a little bit more of a later start person?
You know, my snooze alarm starts at 7:30. And then it just depends on the day.
Yeah, I'm the same way. My alarm is set for 7:30. Yeah. And then I'll hit it. And then Pete is good about getting up after the first snooze. And I'll just look at him and I'll hear him making the coffee, grinding the beans. I'm like, all right, it's time for me to get up. It's like,
so how long does it take you to get up?
About another 15 minutes,
not bad.
7:45. Sometimes I'll just lay there. And then if he brings the coffee to bed to me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to lay here. I'm probably going to sit here till 8 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Penny gets up about 8:30-ish. So, I have those little 30 minutes of like just enjoy my coffee silently. That's really why I like to get up before her. It's just to enjoy my coffee in silence and like be able to sip without her saying mommy or she needing something. You know what I'm saying? That's really my reason for getting up.
Mama, tele.
Yeah. Or whatever it is. I'm just like, okay, I don't,
It's the creative mind because to me, especially whenever I first started off, I hated waking up early in the morning. Like I could even working at literally the station is 15 minutes away from me. I could not stand waking up early. But the thing is, my issue has always been that my brain just works at night and I hate it.
Is that a creative thing? Because I'm the same way.
I'm the same way too.
And remember, I told you that, Ilse, the other day, whenever I saw you working, you were like, I need to I think you were working. Actually, it was when you worked on your signatures.
Oh,
and you were up late, like figuring that out. And I was like, oh my God. You're like, does anybody else have this issue? And I'm like, oh my God, that is me. Sometimes I'll already be asleep and I'll come up with an idea. I get on Pinterest or I get on wherever it is to see if anybody else has come up with that idea too. And then it's like, okay, I got to remember this and I'll write it. I have to write it down. You know what I'm saying? So that I don't forget it in the morning, right? Whatever it is. And then it's like, why do you do this? Why doesn't like your brain just turn off? Like legit.
I think what really the thing is for me is I can't go to sleep without playing either like meditation music or the sound of rain. Because if you just sit in silence, that's when you sit there with your thoughts and either you just start thinking about your to-do list or you just start thinking of like, oh dang, I should have done this, or you start thinking of ideas. So to me, it's like I really need to stop looking at TikTok. I really need to stop looking at social media and just turn off the lights. No sound. I can't sleep. I don't know how people sleep with a TV on. Yeah. I can't. That is I draw my line. There's no TV while going to sleep. Yeah. You could just relax, unwind. And I think that really helps. I think my brain gets so stimulated with ideas when like I'm scrolling, I'm like, oh, I can do that too. Or, oh, I can do this. Or
Yeah.
But I've learned, and this is what I always tell people, because I actually don't like the fact that society's like, the thing is that whenever you grew up, your thing was always like the early worm gets the early bird gets the worm kind of thing. Yeah. Like really shaming on people that if you wake up late, you're not productive. You're not doing life right. And I disagree because and I've talked to other people and I'm like, it just depends. I was like, the work that you do maybe at 7 in the morning, I just work better doing it at 12 or 2. I think it's just society or whatever, that it's like, obviously most people operate 9 to 5. So you're supposed to operate during those times. And I've gotten better about that now. But it's hard when you're a creative. It's really hard because it's like at 9, 10, when people aren't constantly talking to you during the day, that you can actually have time with your own thoughts and actually come up with ideas. Because during the day, while you're texting people and responding to emails, it's hard to be creative because you're just so consumed with the everyday task kind of thing.
Really,
So,
100%.
It's tough. It's so tough.
Funny you say that. I'm not a morning person either. Like, I've never been a morning person. When I worked a corporate job, I used to always remember driving, paying through tolls, $80 a month, just saying, oh, I can't wait to finish school so I don't have to work here anymore. You know what I'm saying? That's all I kept saying. That was seriously my motivation to go to work every morning. It was, I know that this is how I pay for school and this is what pays my bills, but I'm not going to be here for the rest of my life. And I refuse to I would literally say this every morning. I refuse to work for someone for the rest of my life. I feel the same way about the morning thing, Ilse. I'm not a morning person, and I've had to become that. But whenever I go on YouTube to find ideas on like different videos that I can make, right? The morning routine ones, and I always find the moms. It's like we talked about it on the podcast with Marissa. It's like, you get up at 5 for what? Like, I can't get up at 5. I mean, I need 30 minutes by myself. And I think that's enough time for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to drink my coffee before my child wakes up. You know what I'm saying? I don't need 3 hours. I'm like, you get up at 5, Mom? What are you doing at 5 by yourself? Like, but I get it. They work out. They have their breakfast. They drink their coffee. And it's like, well, what time do you go to bed? Because if you're getting up at 5, I'm assuming, right? By like 9?
Yeah.
See,
you have to go to sleep early.
Yeah.
But it also depends. I think it has to do with your partner as well and who you live with. Because my boyfriend, Alex, he is a morning person, religiously. Like, he will not sleep in. And that to me, I'm like, I'm sleeping in. Like, let me sleep in. Like, that's just how I am.
Yeah.
But it also depends. I think your partner really also makes a difference in the lifestyle that you decide to live. But it's also finding that healthy balance. And I think whenever you're an entrepreneur or you're self-employed, that's one of the biggest things. And I would say one of the biggest obstacles for a lot of business owners is managing your time well and being disciplined with your time as well.
For sure.
Being conscious, of course, also about your time. Like, did you just really spend 30 minutes on Instagram or whatever? Was that productive or not? So I think that's been definitely a huge struggle, but it's discipline. Definitely being self-employed is not for everybody.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I have a question for you. If you had not discovered this talent of yours, or somebody had suggested that you start doing this, what would you be doing? What do you think you'd be doing?
I mean, I honestly was on the route. Like, at that point, I was already going to make 4 years at the station, but I was already kind of at that gridlock of like, I need something new. Like, I need to keep growing. I knew I didn't want to be a reporter. I had already kind of established that because there was a lot of what I saw behind the scenes. You just don't know a role or a position until you see it in person. You see it every day and what it really takes. And you're like, yeah, that's not for me. I'm not going to come in every single day and people are going to tell me what to do or how to dress or how to do my hair.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I realized that I didn't want to be a reporter, but I really, really love the behind the scenes and production of things. So even before I decided that I was going to be putting in my 2 weeks, for that past year, I had applied to so many stations. And my thing, and that was one of the things that, my boyfriend had always told me too, because he had the opportunity that he was working at Telemundo. They didn't have a full-time job, so he ended up working at Univision as well, and then he came back to Telemundo. So he was able to experience another station, and he kept telling me, don't give up on journalism yet. Don't give up on it. Try another station. Like, you've only been under one station. You can't give up on it yet. And I was like, no, I don't think I can. So I did. Like, I had applied to other stations. Some of them, they would work out. But how the media production aspect goes, or at least in journalism, when you're going to start at a station new, you're kind of like the rookie. So you always get the suckiest schedule where you'll work on weekends or you'll work overnights. And I was like, no, I've put in 4 years already. I have my awards. Like, I'm not going to start from scratch again. Like, I want to work on weekdays. I want a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it just wasn't working out. But honestly, like I would probably be at some other station at this point right now. Even if it was, I've always wanted to live in another city. So I actually had looked at opportunities to try to like work at a station. And thankfully, like at least while I was at Telemundo, it's nationwide. So you could find another station and you just transfer. But yeah, I think that's where I would be. I mean, there are some days where I'm like, oh, I kind of miss the production aspect a little bit. I kind of miss like looking for stories, and I kind of.
But you still do, though. In a way, if you think about it, you're still creating stories, and you're still like doing production, because it's a production. What you have to do, it's like, I mean, and I don't know if it's the same thing, but you still have to have the eye for certain things, which is kind of what it is behind the camera also. You have to have an eye for things, the angles, lighting has to be good. So it's, I mean, all those things you have to consider as well, even with what you do right now. But real quick, you started this, though, this fell into your lap, what you're doing now, right when the pandemic hit, right?
No. So April is already going to be 2 years that I've been doing this.
Okay. I don't know why I thought.
Yeah. So actually it was, or 2021, it was 2018. This was 2018, January of 2018, that I had put in my two, I started planning in January. Everything that I did it was very strategic. Where I actually, whenever I was quitting, I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. So everybody just thought that I was quitting to just take time off.
Got it.
But I had been planning this since January. I just couldn't really say anything because, want to be right in corporate and you don't want to raise any red flags. You know how it is.
Yeah.
So I had started planning my move since January, and it wasn't until April that was kind of my deadline of, okay, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks. Thankfully, like the transition worked out really well for me. They actually had asked me to stay longer than the 2 weeks, and I did because I wanted to end in good terms, because you never know.
Of course, yeah.
And everything, honestly, it was just a surprise. Like, me having my own business was a surprise, but it's because I didn't tell anybody what I was doing, because I didn't want to be suspicious, or I didn't want them to like fire me on the spot or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, April is going to be 2 years of doing this, and I think.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I can't even imagine what my life would be like right now if I wasn't doing this, because, I've met so many amazing people. Every day I legit grow. Obviously whenever you work in a corporate job, like they'll ask you once a year, what are your yearly goals? But like, whenever you're doing this and you have different streams of not only income, but streams of just like keeping yourself busy, you just really learn and grow every single day in so many aspects of even dealing with clients, dealing with really scary clients, and dealing with good clients. There's so many things that you touch up on that like nobody can possibly teach you for. I mean, and it's insane to me. And to me, I'm just grateful that I just was able to experience this so early on, because I got my full-time job at a TV station as a sophomore in college. Like, literally, I was like 19, 20. Like, so to me, the fact that I was already kind of go through what someone goes through like in a decade.
Sure.
And I did it in a span of 3 or 4 years. Like, people are like, wait. Like, well, first of all, how did you even have like the ovaries to just quit? Yeah. Like someone's dream job, And I was like, I don't know. I'm just like that, where not that I don't care, but I'm a firm believer in your purpose, and you what?
A risk taker.
That, and on top of all that, it's just like, man, you have to bet on yourself. Like, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people miss out on is you don't see your potential. You don't think there's so many people that think of you so highly, and you doubt yourself on the daily. And when you bet on yourself, like that is the best freaking like risk that you can possibly take, when you just believe in yourself and you believe in your worth and what you can do. And when you hustle, like it's possible. Like I'm like, I've been doing it for 2 years on top of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, and people always say, I was like, man, I don't think a lot of people realize there's people literally that close their businesses because of this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that if you're sitting here today after this pandemic, it's because you hustled. Mm-hmm. You adjusted and you figured it out and you made a way to make it work. And that's one of the biggest things that I actually have people, my coworkers, like, how did you do it? I want to do it now. Like, I want to leave my corporate job. And I'm like, it seems nice, but it's not that easy.
What, Ilse, did you see your clientele kind of grow more during the pandemic? Because that's kind of when I became your client, was during the pandemic.
It's one of those conversations that's so hard to have. And I think it was at almost as we were hitting the end of 2020. But I wanted to share it because I felt like it was important to share it. And I actually made a disclaimer on my story. I'm like, I'm not sharing this to show off. I'm sharing this because I feel like I have something valuable to teach someone. Mm-hmm. And I didn't share my income, but I shared, I obviously use like QuickBooks, and you can see your graph on how much you make a month and all that. I had a huge spike after the pandemic. Like as soon as I think it was March, everything happened. Come April, it spiked. And to me, it was such a tough conversation to have with people because it was like, dang, I don't know if I should share this because a lot of people did lose their jobs. A lot of people were affected by it. But I want to use this platform to inspire people to find a way. And if it's truly a priority, if it's truly important to you, you will find a way to make it work. Mm-hmm. And to me, as soon as the pandemic hit, I lost clients. A lot of my clients cut back on their monthly budgets. Mm-hmm. I was on top of that, stuck in another state. I quarantined in Colorado for 3 months since March all the way to May.
Yeah, you were stuck there?
Literally today is the 11th. So today, this time last year is the day when they had closed the rodeo. I was on a plane today to Denver.
Oh,
and the lockdown happened on the 13th. So I was in Colorado. A lot of people actually don't know this, but I was in Colorado from March 13th all the way until May for Mother's Day. And I finally
so were you in Colorado whenever we did the podcast?
Wait, no, not the podcast. Whenever we did our consultation.
Oh, wow. Get out of here. That's crazy.
Yeah, so that happened like on March 13 is when like the official lockdown, like we're like, I guess we're going to get stuck here. And to me, I kept pushing back and I was like, well, I shouldn't get on a plane or what's going to happen or whatever. But then the clients, like there was no point in me coming back because, well, one, I was going to put myself at risk being on an international airport and on a plane and all of that. And two, there was no point in me coming back because I wasn't even able to see people in person anyways. Yeah. I had everything that I needed to make it happen from over there. So I just stayed there and I made it work week after week. And after like, I think it was like after maybe like the second week of like that we were going into the lockdown, I lost a client. There was another person I had a lot of people cut back on budgets. I had 1 day. I allowed myself 1 day to freak out. Just 1 day to freak out, cry, whatever. I said, you have 1 day to cry about this, and tomorrow you're going to wake up, and we're going to figure it out. I gave myself that 1 day. The second day, I'm like, okay, here's the action plan. Okay, I lost clients, but people are sitting at home, and they're bored. Cool, we're going to do Zoom classes. I did Zoom classes all of quarantine. Wow. And that was my spike in my income.
Wow.
And a lot of the times people are like, how did that happen? I'm like, it happened because I didn't allow myself to stay in that mindset of like, my world is falling apart. I said, what can I do right now to make money? And of course, I didn't price my classes as I normally would. I had to be smart about it. I was like, y'all, just give me $10 each. Come into the class, $10 each. That adds up. And
not only that though, but because people also, that was very smart, because people also were going to have to navigate that way now, because businesses were closed. They were going to have to try to find a way to stay open, whether it be that they had to turn all their sales onto online. So they were going to have to learn a new strategy versus probably a walk-in, you know what I'm saying, into their business, or somebody who walks by or whatever. Now it's like everybody had to turn into an online service. So that was genius, because if you're already kind of going to start struggling because the pandemic, but you need to get some kind of knowledge on how to work your social media, and you were charging that. Yeah, of course, that was genius that you gave it at an affordable price and they were gaining something from it. I mean, hello, that was smart for sure.
It was so exhausting though, because I was literally there were 2 hours. The classes were 2 hours. I was just desperate. I had all these. The thing is that I had always done these classes, but I offered them privately to clients. Like I'll have like a broker like hire me to go teach their agents. I have all these presentations sitting in my laptop. So I'm like, this is information that I need to sell. Like I need to do something with it.
Sure.
There were 2 hour classes. I was doing them like every day, or I was doing them, I believe like it was like Tuesdays and Thursday nights. Man, that was exhausting. Like It was so exhausting. And I just remember like at the end of the week of being like, it takes a lot. Like whenever I do my classes, I'm very enthusiastic. I try to make it engaging, and it takes a lot from you. It's a lot of your energy. And I would finish my classes like, man, I'm dead. Like I can't believe, like I'm grateful, but it takes a lot from you. And I guess to me, that was one of the biggest things that, that I think, I don't know if we've talked about it, but it's just like, sink or swim. Like you've got to find a way. You've got to get creative. You can't expect to do the same thing. Like adapt, find different ways to reach your audience. And yes, you may not be the same income, but you've got to find a way. You've got to figure it out. So to me, especially with the pandemic and people seeing the benefits of virtual digital world, social media, it was a huge opportunity on my end, which I don't take for granted. I'm really grateful for, but it was also so frustrating that the same people that would judge me for leaving my corporate job and doing this are now like, wait, let me be part of your class because now I have to do it too. And it's
That's
like, now
insane.
y'all pay attention to me. It took a pandemic.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
But
what are 3 tips you would give somebody trying to start their business? What are some 3 tips before we let you go? I know you're busy. So what are 3 tips you would give someone who is trying to start a business? They're brand new. One thing someone sent to me on Tip Tuesday, they said, I have an idea of what I want to do. Maybe this will help you answer the question. I have an idea of what I want to do. I just don't know how to get started to where I can attract people to my product. So if you, as the person who sees it for marketing and advertising, what are 3 tips you would give a business who's trying to start off?
the first thing would be acknowledging that you're not going to, like what I mentioned, you're not the first or the last to do what you're doing. And that's okay. But acknowledge it. So that way you can own it as well. Mm-hmm. And since you know that, then the first thing you need to ask yourself, okay, what am I going to do to make it different? What am I going to do to make me stand out? What am I going to do that is going to make people want to be curious about what I'm offering? So you have to find that either whether it's how you're going to twist your service or how you're going to twist your product to make it stand out from the rest. That is going to be the key, because that's also going to be your foundation and what's going to keep you grounded in why you started to begin with. Because as soon as you start looking that other people are doing something similar as you can easily get distracted and sucked into thinking, I can't do this anymore because someone else is doing it. But when you're grounded in what you're offering and how yours is different from the rest, you're not going to have any doubt as to what you're doing. And on those days where it gets tough and you question, am I doing the right thing? You have to have that one thing that's going to keep you grounded. Why did you start and what makes you different? The second thing would be your image. And you have to think about your image in the sense of, one of the top things that I always recommend people to invest in is like, just invest in a good headshot. You're going to use that for your profile picture. You're going to use that for your website. You're going to use that for your business card. You're going to use that for any kind of marketing material. And if you want to take it to the extra level, and if you really want to stand out, is having an introduction video. putting a face behind what you're doing. It's easy for anybody to start a business. It's hard to stand out when you're just selling something instead of opening up to your audience. You probably see there's a lot of businesses that offer things, but you've never seen the person behind it. You've never seen the owner behind it. And to me, and from experience, again, there's so many people that do what I do, but I've literally had people tell me, I go to you because of you. I don't go to you because of what you offer. I go to you because of who you are. And a lot of people don't realize the power that you have in connecting with people, and that people like people. People want to see another person. People want to see who's a person behind what you're doing. And part of showing who that person is it's going to take, you being brave enough to show your face. But trust me, that's going to take you things to another level, whether you do it in a picture, whether you do it in a video, but show who you are and tell your story. Tell how is it that you got to where you are today? And you have to kind of walk people through what is it that you're doing. You can't assume that people know who you are and what you're up to. And I think the third one would just be kind of in the sense of, the third tip, I would say, goes kind of hand in hand with, not comparing yourself, but I'm not the type of person. I always have people that tell me, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? I don't believe in that. Not because I don't care where I'm going to be 5 years from now, but in the world that we live in, this world is constantly changing. And one of the biggest obstacles in the tips is that I always have for people is like, be willing to adapt. Just because you went into a business model or a business service or product, maybe that's not really it for you. It was a good starting point, but it doesn't mean that it was for you. You're going to have to adapt. And a lot of the times, that's why I don't believe in the whole, like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Because I believe in adapting and going with the flow and rolling with the punches. Because was in my 2-year plan a pandemic? No, that's not in my control.
For real.
But you adapt. And a lot of the times people go into like, okay, I'm going to start my business. I'm going to sell whatever, for example, candles, and this is what I'm going to do. Okay, great. But what if we don't need any candles anymore? What happens tomorrow? Like, you just have to be willing to adapt and read the room. What's going on in the world? What are people really paying attention to? Whatever. What are the trends? People have to do that with fashion all the time as well. So don't go into it thinking this is exactly what I'm doing, because you're going to be disappointed when it doesn't work out that way. So you have to be willing to just read the room and adapt. And find a creative way to still do what you're doing, but maybe just give it a twist. Change it up a bit and see what's really going to work with your audience. I started off my business offering 500 million services because I just wanted to make money. I was doing websites. How I was doing websites, don't ask me. I was figuring it out. I was doing websites. I don't care. I'll plan your event. I don't care. I'll go babysit your kid too. That's part of my services. That's fine with me too. I was like, I don't care. I'm just trying to make money. I'm just trying to make a living.
Yep, I hear you.
I started off opening every single door, and that's fine. But as you go into it, you start realizing, okay, that was nice to get some money, but now be honest with yourself. What are you really good at? Yeah. And what truly makes you happy? And then you start finding your actual little avenue of what is truly your purpose and your calling. But it all comes with adapting and listening to yourself, and listening also to the people that are around you too.
For sure. I 100% agree. No, those were great tips, because I think we can all relate to that, especially to the pandemic one. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel for me, because I was so consumed with managing my husband, right? My brand was always put on the back burner. My podcast was put on the back burner. My merch line would always be put last, because I was so busy with making sure that the tour was going, making sure his merch was on point. I also manage another comedian, and I was having to make sure his stuff was going. And, there's a lot that goes into a production of a tour. You know what I'm saying? A tour, if we weren't in a pandemic, technically in July, I would already start planning for the following year. So that's how far in advance. And I'm talking about even with the merchandise, with the name of the tour, it starts in July to be ready in January because it takes that long, you know? So when that slowed down, it was like a little bit of a blessing in disguise. I was like, oh my God, I have time to podcast now. Like I can do my podcast now, you know? And then that's when I reached out to you, and it was like, this is going to help me finally like push my merch more, versus I would bring my merch on the road with my husband so people would see it there, but I wouldn't push it enough on social media because I didn't take the time to do it. Does that make sense? So I 100% agree with you. It's like I found that during the pandemic, I had to figure things out differently versus one business slowed down. So it was like another business the other part of our business had to start, you know, picking up so that, you know, we can make up for what's being lost, you know? So I 100% agree with that. And I agree too. I mean, I'm not the only one that sells T-shirts, you know what I'm saying? I'm not the only one that sells accessories or anything like that. I agree that I think a lot of it has to do with the connection. And I'm going to give you a perfect example of that. I've deleted all those pictures off of my merchandise account. But prior to this, I used to only hire other models, like legit models, to model my stuff. And just never would do well. And I would spend so much money on paying models and photographer and studio time. And then, you know, plus the designer. And it was just like, why doesn't this do well? And one day a model just happened to not be able to come. And I said, I have no choice. I'm going to model the stuff myself. And I'm just going to see how it does, you know? And that's the reason why. And now it's funny because when I look at her apparel account, I'm like, oh my God, I bet people are tired of looking at me because it's all me now. You know what I'm saying? But that was the reason why I stopped using models, was because I wouldn't sell as much when it was someone else. It was almost like they didn't relate with that person. Maybe they didn't connect the two together. But when I started modeling my stuff, that's where it kind of like helped me out a lot more. So I 100% agree with what you saying, that, you know what I'm saying? It has to be about you. You have to be able to connect 100% with your audience, with your customer. And, you know, they have to, it's a story at the end of the day too, even your business, you know what I'm saying? Like where it began, why it began, you know what I'm saying? And why you do what you do, you know, all those things matter. Sometimes you're lucky. You'll start a business, you'll invest in it. It kicks off, it does well. And then, hey, you're good. You don't have to do nothing to it, you know? And that's amazing that you do that, you know? And then there's other times where it's like there's people who are super duper passionate, you know, about their business and they love it. And so for them, it's a different type of reward. And that's kind of how it is for me. It's a reward for me. It's rewarding to me when I hear someone say, you know, like, I love what you do. Thank you for what you do. That to me is what keeps me going, as I'm sure is the same for you, because I appreciate you 100%. I mean, I try to tell you that as much as I can, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you've made my life way easier. Like you have no idea, because this was another thing that I couldn't keep up with. It was my own personal social media either, because I was so busy trying to make sure that everything that you know, when your cash cow is what your husband does, you know what I'm saying? Then that's what you have to focus on, because that's what your cash cow is, you know? So even with my social media, I knew it had potential. I just didn't know how I was going to keep it going. And that's why I was thankful when I finally found you. You know, it's like, I forever tell Dulce, I'm like, thank you for telling me about Ilse, because I'm forever grateful for that. You know what I'm saying? That's why anytime Dulce has promoting something, I have no problem reposting it, because I appreciate her telling me, you know, what you do, you know, because I would have probably still been trying to figure it out till this day, you know, how to post, how to take pictures. I mean, I used to watch tutorials on how to take your own pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like how to set your phone up. It was, guys, when I tell you that Ilse has saved my life, I'm telling y'all, and I'm not just saying this because she's on the podcast today. I swear to y'all, like, you have no idea how much easier life is, where all you're having to do is worry about what outfits are you going to wear for the idea that she told you, and you're just going to make it happen, and you're going to show up. I mean, trust me, yeah. And then that's why when she says, you know what I'm saying, it's about what are you going to do with that time that she is. So her taking care of that allows me to do other things that need to be handled. You know what I'm saying? Versus me having to sit there and think about what am I going to do for the month of July, or what am I going to do for the month of June? You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's kind of one of those things that I'm grateful for. And before I let you go, Ilse, what's one thing that you've learned from being an entrepreneur? That's like a life lesson that you thought to yourself, like, yeah, I didn't see that one. You know, I didn't ever think that was going to happen. But what's one thing that you kind of feel you've learned from all this?
I think it comes to knowing your worth and your value, and surrounding yourself with people that see you that same way, because it's easy to get clients. It's easy to just pick up a client. But you have to start thinking in the mindset of, for example, literally right before I was getting on this podcast, I was having a call with one of my clients that she wanted to do a video. And it was one of those things where it's like, oh, I don't know. Do you really think this is going to be worth the investment? I'm like, look, the price I'm giving you, I need you to understand the price that I'm giving you, that's not coming fully into me. $2, $3, $5, up to $5 are being taken off just because I'm doing it through QuickBooks. That's one. On top of that, I have to pay monthly so I can get royalty-free music, so I can put in your video. On top of that, I have to pay monthly so that way I can keep up with my Final Cut Pro, my editing system. And then on top of that, I have gear. From that money that I'm charging you, maybe I'm going to make a good 50% of it, maybe 75% of it. It's never going to be 100% of it. And one of the things that I'm passionate about is showing people the value of your investment. I have no problem being candid with people. And I've even had conversations. I've had clients that I've had them since the beginning. Someone like even Dulce, and I'm like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. When I first started, I had no idea how I was pricing things. And unfortunately, I've just realized now this is taking up way too much more of my time than I thought. And this is my new pricing. And it sucks. I don't want you to think that I'm trying to take advantage of you, but I hope you understand that now things are different. I know how much time this takes, and so I may have to switch things around. And if you're not okay with this new pricing, I completely understand.
Sure.
But 9 times out of 10, when you're partnered with the right people and you surround yourself with like-minded people, they understand. It's like, I've been there. I understand. I undervalued myself too when I started off. But it's all about being honest and communicating also with the people that you're working with, because if not, they don't know what's going on in your life and they don't know your thought process behind things. So I think for me, it's been a learning, and every day it is, because there is no handbook on how to, one, run a business, and especially how to price services. I think when it comes to like offering a product, it's a little bit easier to gauge what your profit's going to be and how to sell it. But pricing a service is so hard. It is one of the hardest things ever that I'll struggle till this day with, because I'm like, dang, I don't know how much this really is worth, or how much this is really costing me, or how much time this is going to, really take of my time. So to me, it every day it's a learning experience. But one of the things, that I've had to learn and the hard way with a lot of clients as well, that I've even had to lose money or something, it's just knowing your worth and valuing your time, and finding people around you that respect and acknowledge the value that you also bring into their lives as well, that they start seeing it more of like, I didn't waste that money, I invested that money.
100%.
And it's just changing that mindset.
For sure. I definitely feel like I invest my money well every month. So anyhow, no, for real, guys, I know that it sounds like, okay, Marisol, stop already kissing her ass. But I swear to you guys, I don't really understand. I don't think you guys understand, like, when you're an entrepreneur and you're super busy and you're not only trying to grow one business, but you're trying to grow several businesses, it's really hard. And when you have someone who can look at it from a different lens, even, because I can see things one way, you see things another way. So, you know what I'm saying? You appreciate those things. And I 100% agree. I understand the whole thing about undervaluing yourself, because one of the things that I struggle with too, and I've asked you about this, I'm like, have you ever thought about being an influencer manager? And you're like, no, I don't know about that one. Because that's one of the things when brands reach out to you, you don't ever really know, like, okay, well, how much time is this going to am I going to spend on this? Am I going to have to hire, Ilse? Am I going to have to hire Joseph to come help me do this video? So now I have to calculate his pay, your pay. You know what I'm saying? So all those things come in place. And sometimes when people will say, well, can you do this amount? I'm always like, like, I get it when you're trying to negotiate a contract, right? That's a different story. You know what I'm saying? But when you're telling someone this is what I charge and this is why, like, it's good quality, it's going to be, it's going to be a professional video or professional pictures taken, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, right? It's like, hold on a second. Like, do you understand that it's just not going to be a picture with my phone or a video with my phone? You know what I'm saying? There's things that go into this thing. So I think that sometimes people don't understand that. And I feel like sometimes it's a little bit offensive too. I don't know. Do you, Ilse, like when someone tries to like lowball you, like, okay, well, yeah, your price, can you like do this amount? Do you ever feel like, wait a minute, this ain't the pulga. Like, you know what I'm saying? This ain't like, let's negotiate my shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes they'll do that to me even at the shows when I'm selling the merch. They're like, "Oh, I only have 20." What? I'm like, and I swear to you, I may sound like a bitch, but every time I always say this, I'm like, this is not the pulga. Like, you're not here. This is the price. You know what I'm saying? I had to travel with this merchandise. You know what I'm saying? I had to pay to bring this suitcase with me, pay to make it, etc. So it's so funny to me, like the way people think sometimes, and they don't understand that it's a business. At the end of the day, we're a business. And if you don't value yourself, you know what I'm saying? Like the way you just explained, then no one else is also going to value your work. At the end of the day, everybody's going to just see you as like, hey, well, she told you that price, but don't worry about it. Like, just tell her like, well, what about, can you do this much for something? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, I can't. Like, this is what it is.
One of the things that I've had to learn as well as time went is not everyone is your audience. Not everyone is your clientele. And that's okay. Because a lot of people go into the mindset of like, I'm going to sell this and I'm going to be the only one. I'm going to make money off of this and everyone's my audience. No. Because this is something that even with me, whenever I'll have like an issue with a client or something like that, and Alex, my boyfriend, always tells me this, there's always going to be someone prettier, smarter, that's going to do it cheaper than you. And you have to be okay with that. But also you have to realize in their eyes, it's you get what you pay for. So yes, maybe you can buy that shirt half the price. Is it going to be the same quality? Is it going to be the same message? Is it going to benefit the right thing? So a lot of people don't think that way though, because a lot of the times people invest or spend their money in an impulsive way that you don't really think. You don't get to think about things. So to me, I've gotten to the point, and sadly, when someone reaches out to me and tells me, hey, can you run my social media page? I like 9 times out of 10, I already know that they're not going to be able to afford it. And so I have to kind of eat into it. And it sucks. But you as someone that whenever you do business, you have to know that, because that way I know like, hey, this is the price. Like, I'm just going to tell you flat out, I'm not even going to do the runaround. This is the price. If it's within your budget, great. And if it's not, I completely understand. And I think a lot of the times people get offended whenever I tell them, hey, if this is not in your budget, that's fine. Like, they take it as that I don't want to work with them. But it's like, no, I understand what I do, and we are not the same, and I don't think we're meant to be, and that's okay. There's nothing offensive about that. We just have to acknowledge we're just not on the same level, and you're not my type of clientele. And that's something that with time you learn. But it's not easy. It takes time, and also a lot of you have to have a thick skin for that as well. For
sure. Have you ever had, and I'm talking about this because you said, you already know, there was a time when someone reached out wanting to book my husband, and we had kind of already heard some not good things about this promoter. So I was like, okay, I don't want to mess with him. He's not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not dealing with this. So like I gave like an insane quote, like booking quote, right? Because I was like, for sure he's going to say no to that. You know what I'm saying? I was like, no. And then he replies and says, great, what can we book whatever date? And I was like, what? No, you were supposed to say no. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think he was going to say yes. And I go tell my husband, I'm like, this guy said yes. And he's like, fuck. He's like, no way. I'm like, yes. He's like, oh my, it backfired on me because I thought we were going to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like having to work with him. And I thought for sure he's going to say, oh no, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And so I just thought, I'm not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to give him this insane made up quote that I made up. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even our quote, but I just did. And I was just like, fuck it. I'm just see what it says. And he said yes. And I was just like, what? No, this was not supposed to happen. It was the end of our tour too. So we were done with work. We didn't want to add any more dates because we take off November and December and January to kind of like get things ready and going and like booking hotels and all that stuff. So I try not to have no more work between November and January and kick it off in February. Well, he wanted to have it in November and it backfired, but yeah, it worked out. Yeah.
That's exactly the main thing. I mean, it's happened to me too, where I'm like, I'm just gonna say something crazy. There's no way they're gonna accept it, and then they do. I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I'm getting this monthly.
You're like, great. I have to put up with them now.
It happens, but you know, a lot of the times, though, if it's really not meant to be with those people, they'll weed out within like a month or two. Like, something will happen that it just won't work out.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with you.
It's just you'll know when it's not meant to be.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on again, Ilse. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being a female that is encouraging and that shows that women can do things on their own. They don't need to feel like they can't overcome or do or whatever it is. You thought of this business. You know what I'm saying? You went for it. You didn't know what to expect. And you just, took a leap of faith. And here you are 2 years in and you're doing an amazing job. So thank you for what you do. Guys, if you are a business owner, whether you be small or big, please check out Ilse's Instagram account. It's at Connect Media Firm on Instagram. And if you're interested in, taking your social media and your business marketing aspect to the next level, I highly recommend her. Trust me, guys, I don't promote or if you notice, I never push anything that I don't believe in. So I definitely believe in Ilse and she's doing an amazing job. So thank you, Ilse, for being on again. I really appreciate your time and I'll see you pretty soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.